Hi, Ross and Kathy Callaghan here again, and this is part 3 of the best cruise ever.
Yes, and actually we're not cruising anywhere because we're in lockdown, but we are going to show you some of the highlights of some of our fantastic cruises.
Yes, in parts 1 and 2 we showed you the highlight from our first 12 cruises, the place that we thought out of each cruise was the best. So now we're up to numbers 13, cruises 13 and 14 on Royal Caribbean this time, on the Radiance of the Seas and the Ovation of the Seas.
And it was a highlight for us because we were going around New Zealand and exploring New Zealand. We're going to take you to Napier, and we were fortunate enough to be there on the Art Deco weekend. But there's fabulous things to do in Napier even outside of that time, and then we're going to show you some highlights from other fantastic places in this wonderful country.
Yes, we're very proud to live in New Zealand. Our country is pretty special. So it's lovely for us to show you some of the highlights from cruising around our own country.
Well, we're now in Napier in the Hawke's Bay. 1931, February the 3rd, there was a terrific earthquake here that flattened the city and nearly 260 people died. So they rebuilt the city in Art Deco, and today is Art Deco weekend, and we're here for the special celebration of Art Deco. All sorts of things are going to happen. We'll show you a few snapshots. On Art Deco weekend, the city centre of Napier really hums. People out enjoying themselves and getting into the Art Deco scene. In some parts of Napier, all of the buildings are done in Art Deco. And they've got the cars of the era as well. Going to have a parade.
So if you haven't come suitably attired, you can hire a little number like this or buy a number like this. It's just gorgeous, and everyone everywhere is dressed up and enjoying the day.
Napier is not just about Art Deco. It's beautiful beaches. They're stony beaches, fantastic cycleways. There's an aquarium here. It's a lovely Hawke's Bay city. And they've created really beautiful garden areas all through the city.
Happy Art Deco.
Hop in.
It's a little bit of a distraction.
Nice to see the vintage airplanes out and showing off. And here we have Panya of the Reef and Kathy of the Reef. and off down Marine Parade.
Deco is absolutely awesome weekend in Napier, and everyone should come every February. It's just absolutely fantastic. We've got about 40,000 people here visiting this weekend.
So the whole event's very family friendly. So whole families come together and they bring a picnic and they enjoy the whole day and sometimes the whole weekend or even the whole week here. It's a wonderful thing.
Napier really is a fantastic place to visit, and how special to be here on Art Deco weekend. We're very, very privileged. It's been a wonderful day. And now welcome to the quaint village of Akaroa, the only French village in New Zealand. It's about 1.5 hours drive from Christchurch out on Banks Peninsula. In Akaroa you can take a cruise out into the lovely harbour, and hopefully you'll see the endangered Hector's dolphin. There's all sorts of wildlife out there in the harbour. It's so gorgeous. This is French Bay, and it gives you a sort of feel of the quaint village nature of Akaroa. The town was initially settled by whalers from France, and that's why there's still relics of the whaling days around the town even today. All of the street names are in French, and a lot of people still speak French. Parlez-vous français?
Petit peu.
Petit peu. One of Akaroa's most loved attractions is the Giant's House. The house was built in 1880 and it was bought by Josie Martin. And one day she was digging in the garden and she found some ceramics. And so she used the ceramics to create all sorts of lovely features for her garden, and that's become something very special. Now the whole garden is covered in these beautiful, beautiful ceramics. A wonderful place to visit.
Anyone for strawberries? I'll have hers.
This place really is a labour of love. Everywhere you look, there is loving care taken place as creating these things. The detail as she's applied the ceramics everywhere is just incredible.
Everything is beautiful. Look at the topiary.
The Giant's house and its garden sure is a labour of love. Josie's made something very special here, hasn't she? Akaroa sure is an idyllic place. So beautiful.
One of the things about New Zealand is that in every town, no matter how small, they have a war memorial. In Akaroa, they have quite a spectacular one, commemorating the war dead.
Makes a big difference to the little village when all the tourists come in off the boats. Don't know if they like it. I'm sure it's good for trade, but it has changed the flavour of Akaroa a bit.
in the escargot rouge, which is the red snail, we can buy a mince pie.
Akaroa sits on Banks Peninsula, which is made up of a couple of extinct volcanoes. And the harbour here that we see was first discovered by Captain Cook in 1770, but it was settled in 1840 by the French. And the word Akaroa in Maori means long harbour, and there's the long harbour before you. This is the lighthouse for the harbour, built in 1880. We've really enjoyed our little visit to Akaroa. What a gorgeous, gorgeous village. Now Kathy's going to be very brave and go on the iFly skydive experience. Woo! Survived!
That was awesome. It's good when you get to my age to do something you've never done before and challenge yourself. That was fun.
Now we're going to go up there on the North Star and see the ship from way up high. This goes 93 meters up above the ship. Bit of a storm over there. And a pretty spectacular view of the ship. Look at that. And now welcome to Wellington. And Wellington's where we come from. It's a little bit strange to be on a cruise ship and coming home. But it's a wonderful city. And this is what Wellington looks like from the North Star. Te Papa over there, straight over the top of the Westpac Stadium, and here's the city. They reckon that Wellington is the coolest little capital in the world. Capital of New Zealand.
We've lived in and around Wellington for over 30 years and we love this place, and it's great to be able to show people just how beautiful it is.
Wellington's the capital of New Zealand, and these are our Parliament buildings. On the left is the Beehive, which is parliamentary offices, and Parliament itself sits in this old building. The church bells are ringing for the cathedral on a Sunday morning. And here we have Old St Paul's, which was the main church in Wellington before the cathedral was built. And this church was built in 1886. And this is Tinakori Road with its quaint houses set under the green belt in the hills of Wellington. It's a pretty hilly city. And Wellington has really lovely botanic gardens. People come here from all around to see the beautiful gardens. Really great place to meet up with the grandchildren. And this is the Rose Garden. Lots and lots of people come here to enjoy the beautiful roses. And there's a begonia house over there with all sorts of tropical plants in it. And the famous cable car takes you from the Botanic Gardens down to the Wellington city centre. And this is Lambton Quay, one of the main shopping streets. Very quiet on a Sunday. This is Civic Square and its famous ball up there. City to Sea Bridge. And here we have Te Papa, the National Museum. Wonderful museum of New Zealand, and you can certainly spend a day easily in there. They have all sorts of major exhibitions at Te Papa. At the moment it's the Terracotta Warriors. And this is Oriental Parade. Beautiful beaches. You can't beat Wellington on a good day. The waterfront in Wellington is just fantastic. There's people everywhere and so much to see and do, and it just hums with activity. Fantastic place to be. Lots of lovely cafes in the waterfront and throughout Wellington. It's very much a cafe city. So nice to visit Wellington as a tourist. Even though we've lived here for a long time, it's nice to come back and to see all the different tourist sites that are part of this lovely city. So, kia ora Wellington, thank you for having us, even if we've been here for years and years. Well, it's time to say goodbye to Wellington. Had a lovely time here on a really beautiful day. It's a fabulous place to visit.
You can see why New Zealand is such a popular tourist destination, can't you? Well, now we're up to cruise number 15, and this time it was in Europe, and we were on the MSC Sinfonia.
And this one was special because we got to share it with my cousins from Norway. But for us, we went to Albania, Croatia, and the Greek islands, and of course Italy. But we're going to show you some highlights from Santorini, which was just amazing.
Yeah, very, very spectacular. Picture postcard stuff, this.
And now welcome to Greece and the wonderful island of Santorini. Over there's the main town of Fira. We're also going to be visiting the beautiful Oia. Santorini was formed in a giant volcanic eruption, and the centre of it fell in and the sea came in. So now you've got a caldera here, and all of the towns sit on the top of the caldera. Now we're in Oia on Santorini, and it's famous for its blue top buildings, the lovely little churches, and the white buildings set there on the side of the caldera. Fabulous.
We've always wanted to come here and see these beautiful white buildings. It's gorgeous.
Yes, you don't see that every day. This is the people's houses perched on the rocks here. So different, isn't it, to the way most people in the world live. Nice place to live, is it? I reckon. This is the main thoroughfare along the top of the caldera through the little town. Yes, Oya on Santorini certainly is a marvellous place. So unique. Fira is the port and the main town of Santorini. And that's where all the cruise ships park as they bring the thousands of tourists in here every day. Very popular tourist attraction, this place. There are 3 ways to get up from the port down there up to Fira town. One is to walk up the long steps. Another is to take a donkey. And the third way is to take the cable car.
We decided it's better to go down than up. So we're heading down and around and zigzagging, and eventually we'll end up way down the bottom. Nearly slipped.
Not sure if this is the best way of doing it or not.
It's a traffic jam or a donkey jam.
This one's given up and he's going home for lunch. He's escaping what he can. There's the boss. We've always wanted to go to Santorini, and this visit, even though it's been short, certainly doesn't disappoint in any way. We loved Oya with its beautiful buildings, and the walk up and down to Fira, that's a life experience. So thank you very much, Greece, Greek islands, Santorini. It's been lovely to visit with you.
And now we're up to cruise number 16, again in 2019. And this was on the MSC Musica, going from the Mediterranean across the Atlantic to South America.
Yes, and being one of our longer cruises, so many amazing places to see, and we can't possibly choose just one. So we'll show you something from Europe and something from South America. But if you want to see the whole cruise, check out our channel. It's there, Calros3, Calros3, and you can see the whole video there.
Yeah, we got lots of cruise videos there on our channel. This one certainly was a highlight. It's just incredibly interesting places to visit.
And now welcome to Spain. We're in the big city of Barcelona, a city of about 5 million people. And we've been here before, and we were so impressed when we came with the works of Antoni Gaudí. So today we're going to take a tour to see his works in Barcelona. Gaudí's buildings are well known in Barcelona. This one is known for its ceramics, and the Casa Mila for its incredible shapes. Unique style, all right. Before the First World War, Gaudí decided to build a public garden in Barcelona, and he wanted to house a number of families here. But when he finally got underway and started building his garden, nobody wanted to stay amongst all the lovely things that he had created. So it ended up with just a very few number of families. And the garden is called Park Well, after one of the families who owned part of the park. This is the marketplace, and inside these columns, water trickles down from above, and it's filtered, goes into a big tank underneath, which waters the whole of the park. How forward thinking. Construction of the park began in 1900, and there was a good relationship between Gaudi and Well, but he died in 1914, and so construction stopped for a while. Gaudi continued though, and ultimately the park was gifted to the city of Barcelona, and its development continues even today. Gaudi certainly has his own style. As you look at these creations, it's pretty recognizable that this is a Gaudi. The ceramics and the shapes, everything's very individualistic.
So after he handed this over, he went and put his whole energies into the Holy Family Church, the Sagrada Familia.
The Sagrada Familia is built around 18 spires, 12 for the apostles, 4 for the evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, and 1 for Jesus, 1 for Mary. Jesus' one is uppermost. Every part of the facade of the Sagrada Familia was designed by Gaudi, and he designed it to tell the story of the Bible. So you can see every little part there. Nothing is random. Everything tells part of the story of Jesus. 3 wise men, angels at Jesus' birth, Jesus in the manger. There are 3 gates: faith, hope and charity. So here we have the glory facade showing the way of the cross. Jesus on the cross there, and above it says Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. And that's followed by the resurrection and Jesus' ascension into glory.
And he dedicated himself so much to this project that he lived here until he died, and unfortunately he died aged 74 when he was run over by a local tram. So it was a very sad end for an absolutely brilliant artist.
Then when you're inside, as you'd expect, it's pretty impressive. It was dedicated as a church in 2010, so it is now a functioning church, just not complete yet. There's the organ over there. And Jesus at the center. Everywhere throughout the church there's symbolism. For example, the cool of the morning and the warmth of the evening as the sun rises in our hearts. Here we have the Lord's Prayer in many, many different languages. The Basilica is trying to be a universal Catholic church, reflected in the different languages shown here in the Lord's Prayer. So to Gaudi, it was all about Jesus, and that's reflected in his work here in the Sagrada Familia. Construction is still continuing, and it's hoped to be completed in 2026, which is the centenary of when he was accidentally killed here in Barcelona. So fantastic to be here, to see reflected in stone so much of the life of Jesus and of the meaning of what he did too. It isn't just a monument in stone, it's a living building. trying to reflect the wonderful life of Jesus, his death, his birth, his death, and his resurrection.
And now, welcome to Portugal. We're here in the capital city of Lisbon. And once again, a very, very historic city. Now we're going to visit one of the beautiful buildings of Sintra, the Quinta de la Guerra. Unfortunately, it's raining today, but we're going to have a look around this property. It's absolutely massive. And the most unique feature of this particular property is this initiation well. And it's sort of like a tower, but instead of going up, it goes down. And the idea is that it's the connection between heaven and earth. Earth down there, and heaven up here. It's a very long way down there, maybe 40 meters. Well, I reckon I'm now closer to the earth, but I think I'd rather be closer to heaven. Here we have the main house, the castle, and this is the chapel. See the amount of work that's gone on here. And remember, this is just one man's house, and inside his chapel. Looks pretty magnificent in the mist there, doesn't it? Palaces like this date back to the voyages of discovery in the 16th century. Both Spain and Portugal were searching around the world for nations to conquer, to Christianize. And Portugal very much was involved in the Christianization and the colonization of Brazil, where we're going next. And the owners who financed these explorations lived in palaces like this. Here's the owner, Luigi Manini. And the magnificent house looks out over these incredible gardens. And the value of it all was that it looked down on Sintra towards the King's Palace, the Royal Palace. The voyages of discovery by both Spain and Portugal were all about seeking to find riches to fund places like this. And obviously they were pretty successful, because there are palaces and villas all around Spain and all around Portugal, just like this one, with immense opulence and beautiful decorations. Incredible. So I hope you enjoyed your visit to La Quinta de la Guerra. This is how rich people have lived from the 16th century on, in palaces like this. We're now in the historical old town of Sintra, which is close to Lisbon. And this is known for being where the summer palace of the King and Queen of Portugal is based. And here we have the summer palace. It was built over the top of old Moorish palaces, with commanding views over Sintra. This dates back to the 15th and 16th century. Particularly noteworthy are the handmade porcelain tiles, which adorn houses and shops everywhere. These tiles show Sintra as it was around 1830. We're now in the old fishing village of Cascais, or Cascais as they call it here in Portugal. And together with nearby Estoril,
this has become a resort place where the modern rich come and live. And it's from such a port as this that the voyages of discovery departed way back in the 1600s. Very historic site.
Coming to a place like this makes you realise the importance of knowing a little bit of history, because by knowing the history you can appreciate places like this, how significant they are in the big picture as well as in the micro picture. So learn your history.
Lisbon, or Lisboa, is the capital of Portugal. It's a city of about 3 million people, and this is its famous trade square. Nowadays these are the main offices for the city of Lisbon, but back in the 1700s this was the site of the palace of the king Joseph I. But there was a massive earthquake and it flattened the palace. In fact, it flattened most of Lisbon, and the palace was not rebuilt. Lisbon sits on the river Tagus, and you can see on the left there it's got its own version of Christ the Redeemer and its own version of the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco. And all along the river there are forts. You can see one there in the distance, and that's because Lisbon became the most wealthy city in Europe with all the exploration in the voyages of discovery, and so it was a target for pirates. Maybe this was some of those pirates. You can see the cathedral up there, and more forts on the top of the hill. All of these buildings were built in the 18th century on top of ones that were destroyed in the earthquakes. We are heading for Brazil now, and it's been most interesting to read the book Brazil by Errol Ois, because it tells of the places we've visited today, of Sintra, of Cascais, and of here in Lisbon, because it's from here that the colonization of Brazil began. This is where those voyages of discovery started, and we'll be following in their footsteps. And now welcome to the big city of Salvador, San Salvador de Bahia, the third biggest city in Brazil after Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. Salvador's a massive city. It's got about 3 million people. It's the capital of the Bahia state, which has got about 15 million people. Just so busy, full of people doing their thing. A lot of the people live in the favela, which is the poor areas with very, very high density and very poor quality of housing. It's a feature of Brazil, and especially of the big cities like Salvador in Brazil. And this is the Bonfim Church. Good finish. Built in the 18th century. After the long voyage from Portugal, you come to church to say thank you for a good finish to your voyage. And when you arrive here, they barrage you with these things, which are for good luck, which you put on the wall here. Salvador was a slave port, so countless black Africans were imported here in the 15th, 16th centuries to work in the sugarcane fields. This is one of the forts that protect the city of Salvador. And even today, 75% of the population are black in origin. When it was first established in the 1500s, Salvador was the capital of Brazil, remained so for a couple of hundred years. Then it became Rio and now it's Brasilia. The city was founded down here in what's now the lower city, which was mainly warehouses and port and forts. You can see a fort out there. And the houses were built on top of this escarpment. And that's called the Palorino, the upper city. Over here is the site of the original government dating back to the 1500s, mid-1500s. And it's right here where the slave market was. So countless people lost their futures right here in Palorino Square. The cathedral. The first university. City Square. And over there's the Franciscan Church. Every church we go to, we say, wow, could there be one that outdoes the last one? Well, look at this. This is all gold. Incredible. Everywhere you look, the church is decorated in gold. And everything is telling a story. Here's their nativity scene. Beautifully done. This church was started in 1708 and it was finished in the 1750s. And the opulence and the grandeur here is just incredible. Apparently, rich people helped fund the church so that they could have good seats like those ones up there. And here we have the focus of it all, Jesus, Mary, and Saint Francis. The Church of San Francisco. Amazing. So much effort has gone into creating this building. Wow.
The thing that I've noticed about even this short time in Brazil is that you can feel the history seeping through the years and the centuries, and it's expressed in the colour and it's expressed in the joy of living and in freedom, and I think perhaps that's what Brazil's all about.
Salvador is famous for having the biggest carnival in the whole wide Brazil. All the crafts are so colourful and so representative of this place as well. As are the beautiful ladies, the baianas. I've really loved our brief visit to Salvador, Brazil. Very historic city, very important for the development of Brazil, and a very interesting place to visit as well. And now welcome to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Over there is Christ the Redeemer on Corcovado Mountain. Down here we have the city of Rio, second biggest city in Brazil. Sadly today we've got a bit of mist, but we're going to go up and see this amazing statue. To get up here we've had to brave the incredible roads, and then we've passed through the Tijuca rainforest. Very nice. And here he is looking out over the city of Rio de Janeiro. 38 meters high, hands go north and south, 30 meters across. And he gets a pretty amazing view out over the city of Rio, especially on a non-misty day. Even on a misty day though, it's pretty special. The statue was completed in the 1930s, and today it's one of the 7 new wonders of the world. And underneath, there's a little chapel. Christ the Redeemer looking out over the city of Rio de Janeiro. And down there we've got the famous Sugarloaf Mountain. Here is Copacabana Beach, and here is Ipanema Beach, and that's where all the girls are.
And I'm not the girl from Ipanema. Her name is Eloise, and she is 75 years old now. She's real.
And then not far away there's a favela, one of the slum areas. And there's the Jockey Club and Ipanema. Rio was also a slave port, and these are the remains of the old wharf where the slaves came in. Pretty historic place for this city. And these stones are interesting. They were used as ballast for the ships that came over from Portugal, and you'll find stones like this all through Brazil. They took gold back to Portugal and ballast of stones back to Brazil.
Yes, and here they do the waves of the ocean.
See these ones on the left? That's what
Yeah, look, the ones on the left, all from Portugal, and from that period of robbing gold.
Now we're at Copacabana Beach, and it's Christmas at Copacabana Beach. Over there they're playing the football. Everyone plays football here. In the summer it's not like this. It's packed with people. One of the most popular beaches in the world. So now we're downtown where Rio was first established, right underneath the Sugarloaf Mountain there. We're going to go up to the top and see the beautiful views of Rio from there. That's Red Beach down there.
Red Beach.
You love cable cars. You go up here in stages. There's downtown. And in the distance is Christ the Redeemer. Now we're on the top of Sugarloaf Mountain, and pretty good views. Down there is Copacabana Beach.
So why is it the name Sugarloaf? Because in the past, the receptacle of making sugar was just the shape of the mountain of Sugarloaf. And then they put the liquid inside this receptacle under the sun to dry, and then they have the sugar. And the color of it is because it's just like the bread, the loaf that's just come out of the oven. Then sugar loaf. That's it. Simple like that.
And here you get a sort of sense of Rio, the city. Beautiful, look at that. Rio means river of Janeiro, January. When the first explorers came here, they thought this bay was a river. So they called, and it was January in the 1500s, so they called it Rio de Janeiro. And down here is Guanabara Bay, protected by Santa Cruz Fortress there. Massive bay upon which Rio is situated. Was named by the Indians, means uterus of the world. They believe that all the waters of the world came out of this bay. Down here is where Rio first started, and above all on the hill there is Christ the Redeemer. So even though it's misty today, you're getting a pretty good view of Rio. You can see all the mountains there that it's built on. Christ the Redeemer looking down on the city. And they reckon that these mountains are all shaped like a giant with its head far in the distance over there.
This is like a dream come true, really. You never expect to be here in Rio, and it's magnificent.
Well, a fabulous day in Rio de Janeiro is a great way to finish off our tour of Brazil. It's been a real pleasure visiting this country and this city. We've always felt safe, we've enjoyed the history, we've enjoyed seeing the different cultures in action, and it's been a wonderful introduction to South America. So thank you for a great time in Brazil, South America. It's been fantastic.
So now we're up to cruise number 17, our last cruise. And this was in 2020, and it was from Melbourne down to Tasmania on the Pacific Aria, a cruise ship that we really enjoy being on.
Yes, we love Tasmania, and it was wonderful to be able to go. We'd heard rumours about a virus sweeping the world, but at that point it wasn't a pandemic, and so the cruise took off, and it was wonderful. But we got back just in time when things started to escalate. We got back into New Zealand just in time as well, so we're really grateful that we had that opportunity.
Yeah, so no more cruises for a while, which is why we're making the best cruise ever for you.
And now welcome to Hobart, the capital of Tasmania. In 1803, some soldiers brought convicts here to establish the second colony in Australia. And Hobart has maybe thrived ever since from its convicts. Over there is Mount Wellington, and down here is the city of Hobart, a city of nearly 250,000 people.
From 1803, over 13,000 convict women were brought here, and they settled in this area, amongst them 2,000 children. This monument here represents them. It names all the ships and the number of children and women that came on each ship.
It didn't take them long to establish a hotel. This one dates back to 1807. Only arrived here in 1803. And here we have Salamanca Place. These old warehouses and shops date right back to the early convict times, used for storage and markets. Still going strong. And this is Battery Point, where there are still lots of the quaint cottages that date way back to the early days. Hobart certainly has a lovely downtown area. Cruise ships are very close, and the docks and piers are right in the centre of the city.
And we've struck the most beautiful day. Thank you, Hobart.
And right here is very important for Hobart. This is where the Sydney to Hobart yacht race finishes after Christmas every year. One of the significant events every year for this city. Okay, so now we're going to go on a little cruise up the Derwent River to see the main sights of Hobart. Over there's the casino. Australia's first legal casino, 1973. And over there's the Tasman Bridge, and in 1975 that was hit by a ship, and the ship sunk underneath the bridge, and it's still there today. The ship that hit the bridge was called the Lake Illawarra. It was carrying zinc, and 100 metres of the bridge fell down onto the ship and sunk it. That's why it's now on the sea floor there below. And you can see that the bridge itself has been rebuilt in a different style with not just concrete, but with steel. This is Kangaroo Bay, one of the inlets of the Derwent River, just opposite the main city of Hobart. And there in the distance is the Pacific Aria. And this is where the British Antarctic expedition departed from in 1898, going down to Antarctica. We're now on the top of Mount Wellington, and down there is the beginning of the Derwent River. Pretty wonderful views of Hobart. And the Derwent River carries on up there. You don't see sights like this every day because it mists in very, very quickly and very easily. Tasmania was once joined to mainland Australia, but became a raised plateau, and that left exposed rocks like these. Mount Wellington's pretty amazing, really, to have such big boulders on the top of a big mountain like this, all pushed up from deep under the earth and also very, very old. It's been over 20 years since we were in Hobart, and the city certainly has developed a lot in that time. But it's been really great to come back here and see that development, and to see quite a few different places as well. I've really enjoyed it.
So there you are. 17 cruises between 2007 and 2020, when we had to stop because of the virus. In parts 1, 2 and 3 we've shown you some pretty wonderful places throughout the world. It's been a joy for us to do that.
We love cruising, and it suits us, this type of travel, the comfort of it and the wonderful places you can go to. And when cruising is up and running once again, we're going to be there. Actually, we've got some cruises booked, and at this stage we're not sure if they will take place, but look out for this channel and we'll be showing you as soon as we can.
Yes, we hope you enjoy this particular series on the best cruise ever, and that you enjoy also all of the other cruises, the full cruises, as we have shown them on our Calros 3 YouTube channel. We enjoy making cruise videos, perhaps not as much as we enjoy cruising though.